Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Monday, November 3rd, 2025, Trading Trends ETF edition. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into it. Some interesting things happened, as always. If you like what you're hearing here, hit subscribe. And we aim to be here Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 4:15 for your wrap-up. And Wednesdays, we go into the single stocks. So always helps to get a time frame and zoom out. When in doubt, zoom out. So hence we look at the market, and then we go into sectors, subsectors, and then, like I said, on Wednesdays we go into the individual companies. Let's get to it. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Happy Halloween and all that good stuff. Let's get into it. So today, really summarized by South Korea, Hong Kong, and natural gas all rallied greater than 2%. We're not going to be screaming about AI right now for today. South Korea has been absolutely ripping. We talked about it a couple days ago and said, don't chase this thing. It just looks a little bit nosebleed territory. And this thing keeps printing all-time highs. Important to note that fund, EWI, is 25% Samsung Electronics. So it is still a tech play, but there's also, of course, other components in the EWI. We will take a look. Also, more international love today. Hong Kong, a 2% rally. And natural gas, we'll take a look at that. It's had a really stellar week. We'll, of course, recap the past 5 days, including this session. And Bitcoin, we'll take a look at the crypto charts. Ethereum and Bitcoin have been, as we suggested, a dip first, then a rip, but it's dipping a little bit harder than I think folks expected. Today, a 2.5% sell-off in Bitcoin. Like I said, new all-time highs for South Korea. When you really look at it, the past 5 days, today's session plus the previous 4, 13% declines in Ethereum and Bitcoin. So a little bit of liquidation there. You see the numbers from liquidity whales and all this kind of stuff on FinTwit, but there definitely has been curbed enthusiasm in crypto. We'll take a look at the charts and see if it's over or not. So first, without further ado, let's get to the panel here, and we'll take a quick glance at some individual names. Earnings are still going on for firms. Let's take a look. Amazon at 4% after their blowout earnings at the end of last week. NVIDIA up 2%. They had some deals announced today as well with that whole circular financial architecture that's been going on in AI and through OpenAI. Tesla, 2.5%, nearing $470 a share. Meta still looking like one of the worst stocks in the market with their overspend in AI announcement on earnings last week. Meta shed 1 2/3% today. Palantir over $200, new all-time high for that puppy. 3 1/3% added today. They have deals announced as well. We'll quickly cut to AMD here, up 1.5%. And Micron, oh my gosh, one of the absolute best stocks in the market, up 5%. If you don't own a semi company, really, Micron's almost like a perfect score. Bitcoin, we'll highlight that in a little bit. The actual Bitcoin to US dollar was down 2.8%. We'll take a look at BITO and I believe IBIT as well. Netflix down 1.7%. And Broadcom, also a very near perfect stock, down 2%. Let's get to the intraday tape here. So really very light volume today in SPY, nearly 50% of the 20-day average. You could see they liquidated it right at the bell. We opened at 686. I'm rounding for simplicity's sake. And truly within an hour, we were trading at 680, hence a 1% sell-off. And a nice gradual recovery throughout the day. But look at that. That black line there is a 200 bar moving average, each constituting 30 minutes. Look at that right at 1 o'clock. Right around Eastern, 1 o'clock Eastern time for lunch for the New York traders here. And look at that. It got to a rising resistance both times. And that's where the buck stopped. And then it held right below VWAP, still holding it. And then there's a little bit of, I would say, it tinkered beneath it here at 230 and right into the bell 330. But we did end up holding it. VWAP is 682.86. And we closed above that. As I zoom out, for you that watch the show very regularly, I had been anticipating that bullish date to be specific beginning on October 17th, which was 1 week after our massive bearish engulfing candle here. So the 17th, right here, I was getting super bulled up. You can watch the videos. And I said, get ready for a 15-day bullish accumulation that started right there, right around 663. And I said, it's probably going to take us to 685, maybe 690 if the animal spirits and FOMO prevail. And it happened basically 2 days within my count. I said, look for a top right around Halloween. It came on the 29th at 690. So now what? And you see these candles here today. We added 20 bips. Now what? So I do see a bearish distribution phase. It's not going to be drastic, but some folks will say we've come far too high too quickly, and the sky is falling type deal. I don't really see that happening, but I do see 2 weeks of consolidation here and digestion of these massive gains, especially since that massive bearish engulfing candle on the 10th. This should take you to right around my cards here, have it 672, 673 by the end of next Friday. My pivot date for this is Friday, November 14th. I see us being at 673. So to me, regardless of what deals come out and all this, I think we should just calm ourselves. I'll tell you when to get bulled up. I'll tell you when to get beared down. And right now, I do think you should be preparing for about a bunch of zigs and zags, but really an $11 decline in SPY or inside of 2%. So nothing, horrendous, although it might feel like it. And again, just looking at the RSI here, above 40 going back from the week of the 52-week low. So really, folks have stepped in and really wanted to buy this market, and they've still continued to bid it up. And we're just 5 days removed from the all-time high. So that's pretty much it. Also, just some programming notes. I will be the chart advisor writer of the week next week. So do subscribe for that. It's on Investopedia. And CMTs like myself giving you professional analysis through many ETFs. I'll probably try and pick some single stocks as well, possibly. And yeah, also be on the JC Peretz show, the morning show. More details to come on that. It should be next Wednesday, whatever that date is, the 12th. All right, so that is it for SPY. Like I said, I'm not super bulled up. We're going to have to pick your spots here. And as I said, an $11 decline or inside of 2% to be shed is what I'm expecting over the next 2 weeks. So do be careful and pick your spots. Let's get into it and see what they were attacking in the market today. Very interesting moves today. Let's just start with really the bell of the ball. South Korea, new all-time highs today. It has been continuing. Look at this. Absolutely nosebleed territory. I thought it was getting a little bit rich here with the breakout out of 85. And look at this. We touched par today, or 100. A 4% day for EWY. That's massive. As I said, this is a quarter made up of Samsung Electronics. So it is a tech play within somewhat. Not as concentrated as SPY and Qs, but there is still tech there, international tech. To me, I just wouldn't personally chase this. The candles are still, massive. You have a 78 RSI. It probably does go higher. Don't want to personally sell covered calls on this because this thing has continued to crank. But it just does look like it should be taking a breather as low as 90. We've been saying it. This has been defying gravity, this chart, honestly. This has been a very, very hot area from, honestly, $65 back early summer. And for a nation ETF, a geographical ETF, run by Ishares, to go from 65 to 100, and we're not talking about Forex open door nonsense. That's a massive, massive move of 50%. And we'll look at South Korea. This is actually one of your year-over-year leaders. There's the teaser. This moves like a crypto. This moves like ARK. So we do want to highlight South Korea versus crypto today. I would give this a little bit of space. It is not a fad. This is an absolute enduring, durable trend. You should allocate to South Korea. I personally just wouldn't do it here. I still see a potential for this to drop to 90, which is a big 10% move down, and then I would get in, call spreads, the common. There's all different kinds of things you can do here. But for right now, be careful with selling upside calls because it's been taking you out back and getting you murdered basically for the past 2 weeks. But it still looks like this does want to settle at $90. If you're long, congrats. Take profits along the way. But this is an all-time high here in South Korea. Absolutely stupendous chart, up 4% today alone. A massive move. New all-time highs. Congrats if you're in that one. It's not only the international ETF getting love today in a multiple sigma manner. Hong Kong up to, where did it close the day here? Basically 2.25%, getting very close to its 52-week high. Struck on 9/11 here at 22.05. We came within a nickel of making new highs. That is not the all-time high. That resides back here from the COVID craziness days of 28. I absolutely love and believe in catch-up trades, and this looks no different here in Hong Kong. Be a little bit careful with the liquidity on this. It's not super liquid. Definitely check your options chains and open interest. But this looks a little bit range bound here between 20 and 22. But could you get something like you just saw in South Korea, perhaps with a breakout and a 70 RSI registration? Absolutely, I do think that's possible. This, to me, looks a little bit stretched, especially since it is inside of prior highs. I just want to give this a little bit more time, and then I do think it will break out a beautiful rising 200-day moving average. This one hasn't been in any kind of purgatory since late April. Of course, it had their horrible bearish engulfing on the 10th as well, as many nations did globally. But I would not chase this one right here. I think a better entry is about 2 weeks at about 21.30 to 21.5. So not far, far lower, about 70 cents or 3%. I do think you get it when you have a little bit of a beta pull. And then this would drop to right where my cursor is. And I think that would be an excellent entry for, say, a 21.5, 22 call spread going out to December. I like that one. Check liquidity on that. So that's Hong Kong up 2%. And then there's only a few things that they gobbled up today. It was obviously South Korea. It was Hong Kong. And then natural gas. This has been for several days now. We'll look at it on the weekly recap. But up nearly 4% today is natural gas. Again, this has bounced, I don't want to say violently, but it's had a nice recovery here from October 16th at 52-week lows. And I think, let me check my notes here. This is exactly, I believe, where we said this would end. Let me see here. I have October 17th. Let me put the cursor here so it's easier to see. The 17th was the day after the 52-week low, and it had begun to ascend, and we did notice it. And we said, look for this to take you to, and I'm not BSing here, I said literally 1375 around November 2nd. And I rounded to the 3rd because the 2nd's a Sunday, and you can't trade UNG on the weekends yet. So look what happened. We actually closed at 1375 or 1374, a penny inside of targets. And that's why technical analysis is so powerful, especially when you realize where you're living in terms of different cross-sector analysis and cross-asset analysis. So for this right here, now let's get an update since that was 2 weeks old. Our analysis, now what? Still a nice day. I don't want to, that's a nice looking doji here on the day, up 4%. I think it has a little bit more to go. And by a little bit, I mean 1%. I think it wants to get close to this October 2nd high at 1407 where it got rejected. And don't forget, it has not been north of 1407 since July. I think it has a little bit more to go, truly to the point of 1% higher. And then that should probably end for the week. And then the drawdown for that should take you to about 1270 or a dollar reduction, which is about 8% for this. So there would be your move. You could buy put spreads. You could sell call spreads because that is a heavy, heavy ceiling here at 14. I think you're good selling those 14 calls in UNG. You're getting a little bit close here. You might get a little bit closer when it gets to 1390, and then I would pierce it. You still have a sliding lower 200-day moving average. This one has not looked right since truly the end of June. So not going to go enter natural gas into investment anytime soon, but just a tactical trade. I think you have another 1% upside, and then it's going to shed, like I said, 7 to 8%. Those are the risk rewards you want to take. Up 1%, down 7. You lean obviously short when the time comes. I think it's going to happen very soon, any day now. Look for this to get cut in half, an up 2% day, then a digestion day up 20 bips, then down, and then you're going to want to act. You want to buy into strength, and you want to sell into weakness. So that is the call on natural gas. The loser today, there was only one multiple standard deviation mover, and it is one of our babies. It is Bitcoin, and it's strictly through the BITO ETF. This is actually pretty amazing. BITO is a bizarre ETF in that they have a crazy dividend yield, and that is why it doesn't track exactly like Bitcoin itself, but there are absolutely knowledge and facts that you can take from the chart. The dividend is crazy. They give you, it's a $16 stock, and they give you what is the dividend here? They give you like $1.20 every month or so. It's a pretty crazy dividend. It's like a 50% yield. So I love IBIT to capture the upside. You see this from a technical basis. Don't really want to own it. But let's do TA, technical analysis on this alone. messy chart. Obviously, you're getting very close to a 52-week low in BITO. The BITO low is 1648. We got 20, what is that? 2% away from that here. So this looks like a piece of crap like MicroStrategies. And this bottom the same day as the SPY 52-week low. You see what SPY done from the benefit of the concentration of the MAG 7. And yet BITO, even technically speaking, the last good day for this ETF was August 13th in terms of closing above a 200-day moving average. And then it's just had fits and starts above a 50 RSI. It hasn't been above 60 RSI since July. There's definitely better proxies, better ways, instruments to play Bitcoin than this. But strictly charting this, range bound, I don't think it takes out a new 52-week low. So I do think your floor is 16.5. And this is sad to say, but in terms of a ceiling, I think this doesn't get far better than 18.5 short term. So that's about $2 away. I know it's a big percentage move. I don't want to spend too much time on this. We are going to look at IBIT, but they did sell this quite a bit. Down 3% for BITO is not ordinary. And you can see the chart, a fall in 200 moving average ever since August. Absolutely better places to be. Speaking of better places to be, the top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. Number 1 was the aforementioned natural gas. We talked about it. It's up 7% over the past 5 days. Half of that coming from today's gain. We highlighted it just in the previous segment of how much more upside to go. It looks like this wants to get rejected again, right there at a 14 handle. And then I think that'll be your signal. Encouraging candle today. It closed very nearly at a high, 8 cents off. So pretty remarkable. Probably is another green day. There's also Hurricane Melissa and numbers that are affecting this, supporting the move. And just also want to highlight this 60 RSI is the highest and where UNG has been crapping out since St. Patrick's Day. Okay, so that is a 8-month track record here going back to March. And it's actually where the 52-week high was put in. So I'll learn a lot. If it goes above 14, folks are bidding this up. Otherwise, it's the same dirty dog with the same tricks. You know what to do, as we already talked about. Best week, though, for natural gas. A lot of folks have seemed to have sniffed this one out, and I think it has a little bit more to go, truly 1%. Congrats if you're in that for the gains. Number 2 best week, we talked about this one as well. There's a bit of concentration in terms of where the alpha generation is coming from in the market and ETF land. It's EWI, South Korea. They've been gobbling up natural gas and South Korea, both up 6.5 to 7%. Also similar flow in terms of South Korea. Half of the gains of the past week coming from today. This 4% move. EWI up 6.7, as I said, over the past 5 days. On and off overbought since September 11th when you had that breakout. And this is kind of like what we were saying on the earlier chart. This South Korea was stuck between 70 and 75 from end of June through end of August. 2 months of consolidation and then truly ripped higher. Just absolutely momentous moves here with quite velocity. And we still have a 79 RSI, so tell me it's not done yet. And yeah, held VWAP on the day, of course, up 4%. And just inside of the highs, it did touch 101.16 and a little bit of profit taking, but an amazing day. And some decent volume on South Korea, but do really take a magnifying glass when you look at the options interest, because it is sometimes quite narrow. That is the second best ETF performer over the past week at EWI. So again, it's natural gas, it's EWI, and then up 5.5% was this little ditty, volatility, up 5.5%. Today, down 1%, but look at this. Similar to a natural gas dead cat bounce off the lows. This came off the 52-week low for VXX on October 27th. If you remember, it got, 31.85, and now here we are at 33.60. It's up 5.5% in the past 5 days. Now, what do we say? Similar, if you're forecasting a bearish distribution phase for SPY, you are going to be signaling the inverse for this, which would be a bullish accumulation phase for VXX. And the charts to me, so look like you're going to enjoy, if you're long VXX or volatility products, puts, depending, hopefully not crash puts, unless it's, some of these junky firms that are like Fiserv and Stride and, you got several 40% down moves on some smaller earnings names, sometimes not so small, like a Pfizer, a 30-year plus company, multi-billion dollars. But here for VXX, I do think you're going to enjoy, like I said, about a 10 to 12 day run. And in terms of levels, the ceiling for me on this, and this is if there was fear and folks think AI is overblown and there's no revenues and worst case scenario, you're going to get a rip to 38 on this. So that would be 4 points in VXX. And like I said, so I can show my cursor here, 38.5, let's say. 38.5 is right there. That would be just inside the week after our massive bearish engulfing. VXX that day was up 13% on October 10th. And again, mostly sub 50 RSI trading here. I do think we crack above that. Probably have a little bit of hard time breaking and closing above 34 quarter. You'll need some kind of a Qs sell-off. NVIDIA down 5% type day for this to really get above 34. I do think it happens. And as I said, look for this at the end of next week. 30, I just think there's a little bit of a hard time getting above that 50-day moving average of 35.60. I think it barely does it at 36, and that'll be your signal that the scare is over and time to get ready to get more, long into the market again. The volatility right now looks like a decent pickup. It's had a fine week, up 5.5%, and that's even including today's down 1% move. I think it continues this nice stair step. Folks are going to interpret as total fear in the market and It's not. This thing is a dog. Look at this 200-day moving average. This thing has been an absolutely horrible place to be since the end of June. No doubt about it. And those were the best three performers of the week. Pretty interesting. Natural gas, a commodity. South Korea, a natural gas ETF that has no, of course, they're related to Apple and tech and the Mag 7 here, but it is not, straight NVIDIA, Palantir, et cetera. And the third best category, or the third best ETF rather, is volatility. And I think this is why this past week has confused so many folks. The vibes are hard, blah, 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 whatever you read on X and LinkedIn, financial media. That's why, because it's not just straight XLY and XLK and the usual suspects. I think it's also important to know that today, in terms of digestion, in terms of multiple standard deviation losers, by the way, it was just Bitcoin. This isn't them, selling XLK and major important parts of this rally. So again, these are just digesting the gains. Don't be afraid. Next 2 weeks, if we go sideways to down in the overall market, let's look at what they've been taking and making an example of in the past 5 days. I don't want to turn this into the crypto show, but these two have been slaughtered in the past week. Nothing worse than Ethereum. Ethereum down 14% or nearly 3% a day today. Really ugly, down almost 8%. This is an ugly chart here on Ethereum. The peak was August 22nd. I don't like this right here. That's very interesting to me. October 27th, we peaked at the 21-day, a sliding 21-day exponential moving average, and we couldn't budge above a 50. I'm getting really nearsighted here, 52 RSI. So when push comes to shove, folks say, no, I don't want this anymore. And what's even more telling is the lower lows. If you see here in September, the low was 29.5. And then early October, we got to 28. Today, we're looking at 27.20 and a 200-day moving average that is still rising a penny a day at 23.07, but obviously not the same velocity that Ethereum had in August when this was a ripper. We can check the video from August. We said, what will bring this mighty, king down? And it happens when trees don't grow to the sky. And that's what's happening here. Similar chart to BITO here. Pretty messy. I do not love investing or trading things that are sub 50 RSI for almost going on 4 weeks here. And this has really fell out of bed. This one, I think your floor is potentially a little bit lower just due to volatility. I don't think it's going to be magnetized too much, this 200-day moving average. I don't think they meet in time here, but I do think you should anticipate a potential bottom of about 26.5. It looks like it may want to get back to those early August lows. It looks like it just gravity is pulling it down. This chart looks heavy here, and you can tell from the way the moving averages are headed and with the velocity they're headed. I think 26.5 should be your low. It's going to take time. I would let the dust settle on this one first. And the secondary issue for this is the subsequent rally that will happen after that, I think will only get you to 30 to 30 half. And if you think about it, 26 half to 30, that's a greater than 10% move. It won't recover everything it just lost in the past 5 days. But then what? You don't want to see this overhead at 36 seems 30, 36. That's quite a move. That's 20%. Of course, Ethereum can do it. I see Tom Lee and a lot of crypto guys super bowled up, still see 200K for crypto, or for Bitcoin rather, by New Year's Eve. These are derivative plays. Ethereum and Bitcoin dance together somewhat. Don't like to see the lower lows here. And the worst ETF of the past week has been this one. Ethereum down 14%. Let the dust settle. Messy chart, truly. Don't like seeing new, basically very close to 3-month lows. Curve fitting there. It's basically 10-week lows on Ethereum. So a lot of folks holding the bag if you bought, on August, right here at 36 handle. Let's see the next chart here. We had already looked at it. BITO is your second loser, down 11.5%. Like I said, very, very similar chart. It's going to be a little bit messy in terms of a bottom. I think you're very close. I don't think a new 52-week low should happen in BITO. And again, that's 1648. Today we got within a nickel of it. So that is pretty astounding. 35 RSI. They don't let this one get oversold. It is interesting to know this one hasn't been oversold since March. Even that was ahead into the 52-week low, and then they even got it overbought, and that was pretty much the top for BITO right before Memorial Day at 23 handle. Like I said, don't like BITO. We're looking at it because they've been selling it, as they should. It's a piece of crap. But IBIT was also down. But IBIT was down 7%, a much better proxy. So ETHA versus BITO, it literally was down 2-1. Okay, so Ethereum down 14% in the past 5 days. BITO down 12% in the past 5 days, 3 of which was today. IBIT, just an aside, down 7%. And then the next one is XRT. We've been highlighting in the stock program on Wednesdays. Deckers looks bad. I think Lululemon was having a bad time. There's lots of retailers that do not look good. This is XRT, down 5% over the past 5 days, or roughly 1% a day. This group peaked on September 17th at 89.40. The 200 moving average is still rising. Nothing a penny a day on a $78 name or $78 number here, but still overall okay. Again, this is a great exhibit of what I'm showing you. You want to see things hold 50 RSI. This has not been since early October, and when the tough gets going, they're going to sell before they buy this. So XRT, and you always hear about the consumer having a hard time, layoffs, Chipotle numbers with 100K cohort having a rough time, and they sell XRT. If folks are, not shopping because it's just discretionary, XLY, you want to know, is 40% the Amazon, Tesla, Home Depot basket. So it's very different versus general retail of Five Below and other stores, Lowe's, et cetera, et cetera. This one looks like, so for me, the floor for me was $80. I don't think this 200 moving average will be in jeopardy. But to me, this has to correct in time versus price. I think it already did a decent job in the past 5 days, dropping 5%. As you can tell, this is not ready for prime time being 86 handle. This looks like it will drift towards that 80 floor. Notice how they bought it both times when I got to 80 this past week, and on that scary bearish engulfing when it was down 3%. Also, they don't let this one get oversold either. Last time that happened was when SPY hit a 52-week low. This one hit $61. It's had a decent recovery since, like I said, peaking in mid-Sep. Like I said, stay away from this one for about 10 days. If I'm bearish on the overall market, I don't want to go long XRT for sure. So in about, I'll give you let me see here. About, I have a November 12th for a pivot date. That's when 80 handle on this should be looking attractive. So for me, about another 9 days, a week and a half or so in the penalty box for retail. And then unfortunately after that, I think the bounce will only take it to 84. So 80 to 84, a 5% move, basically regaining just what it lost. As I said, down 5% in the past 5 days. So top 3 trades of the past 5 days. If you've been short Ethereum, short BITO, you don't need both of them, and long natural gas, congrats. You are absolutely slaying the ETF market, double-digit gains across the board in absolute fashion. Now, my favorite part, top 3 trades of the past 52 weeks. Let's get into it. What are they today? From last November, which was election, we're going back from election day, so there was volatility on that day. Through today, your number 1 performer is ARK Innovation, up 89%, or nearly a double. Of course, when Tesla rises, Roku, and they have done so in dramatic fashion, Kathy is going to be benefiting, and boy, has she. October 8th, this peaked at nearly $93, and then a little bit of range bound. I like seeing these long candles. They inform me on where supply and demand really gets to live and die. 83.5 looks to be a reliable floor for this, and this looks like it could cross 90 in due time. Let us see what the short-term forecast brings. This has to hold the 21-day exponential moving average of 87.5. As long as it does that, I do think this could get to $96. You need some crazy moves in Tesla and whatnot. But look at this, a beautiful chart over 45 RSI going back to April. Again, when this thing sells off, folks have stepped in to buy. So again, if it holds 87, I think this has a chance of getting back to the 52-week high of about 93. 96 was my original call. That looks way too bullish, but it is something I had originally. This is your year-over-year leader. This isn't the bad ETF. It's the best ETF. There's no longer IBIT at number 1. It's no longer FXI or any of that stuff. It is ARK, your year-over-year leader, largely thanks to Tesla and a lot of the other names. So again, as I said, another couple of days of bullishness for this, about 5 days or so, and then we'll know a lot more. Looks like it wants to get to $92. Certainly it can do it. That is your year-over-year leader. Just congrats if you're in ARK. We've been preaching it and writing about it since early in January. Number 2 leader is GDX. Okay, the gold trade is alive and well. This peaked on October 16th at $85. And you remember that violent swing. It had to 68. Something that's a little bit interesting here. It looks a little bit heavy. We haven't been above 50 RSI on this one, on the GDX, on the gold miner, since October 20th. So not horrible. It's been 2 weeks. I don't love that it came 2 days after the high. They really kind of crapped out. Remember, that was down 9% on October 21st, and it has not recovered. Yes, it's holding 40 RSI, but its range bound hasn't squeaked past 50 RSI. Does it matter? This is your second year-over-year leader after ARK. I think it looks great. It does look heavy. It's up 80% though, so trees don't grow to the sky. I like setups here, honestly, under $74. It might make you wait. I'm looking to put on, roll another position in this right now. I think you're going to get the 74 calls for cheap. Obviously, it's going to make you wait. I think this was an oopsie. I don't think it ever should have traded at 68. And then you see how quickly it rose back to 71. Today, down 1%. I like this one here. My target for this is still $83, which is just inside previous highs. The high on the 16th was $85. So again, call spreads will pay you handsomely if they get there. Check the liquidity on this. It is very liquid. I'm checking for December's on this. I would go check the cost of how much you're willing to get exposure, but you could do maybe like a 74.84. Or probably tighten up those strikes, maybe do a 74.80. Lots of trades you could also buy the common. This thing, is up 80% year over year. I do think the gold miners are setting up. It's been a little bit painful, but I do think they're getting ready to go. And again, when they pull off beta here, as I'm anticipating for the next 10 to 14 days or so, they're going to get back into the yellow metals, the precious metals trade. This whole year has been no different. GDX, again, This thing was overbought from August 27th, essentially, to October 16th. And that was the peak. And just folks got out of that shopping line and said, what else is available? Spying Q's cranked to new all-time highs. You can't ignore machines like Palantir that just continue to crank. And they say, oh, wait a minute. Gold's also made me a ton of money. And the flywheel continues. And that is gold miners. These ETFs, ARK, GDX, you have to be into. Just a matter of risk management and position sizing. And the number 3 is uranium. Okay, still AI related, energy related, rare earth metals related, US versus China related. Today, an ugly day, down 4.5% for uranium. This is your third leader after ARK and GDX is uranium, up 72% year over year, peaking on the 15th at 60.5, and then had a dramatic fall to 48, and then all the way back to 57. And then 52. I just got a nosebleed just tracking it. What now for uranium? I remember reading folks saying this was, like a sham or don't chase URA. No, you absolutely can chase URA. This ETF has looked absolutely stellar from the first period where it got overbought. Back here, where am I looking? Right after Cinco de Mayo, essentially, where you see it went on this Michael Jordan-like run in May, all the way till the end of June being overbought. It took the ETF from 27 all the way to 39. My goodness. Right here, this chart to me looks cleaner. I think this has a nice, let me look at my day count. This looks like it has a decent 4 and 11, about another 8 days or so of bullishness. This looks like it wants to get to about $59. Today took me a little bit by surprise. This down 4.5% move. But again, holding 50 RSI, they are going to cram into this one. The only thing is maybe not rush into this one first thing tomorrow morning because this essentially closed nearly at the lows. But I do think it has a decent week ahead as it tries to angle towards 58 to 59. Again, your third year-over-year leader. It's ARK, it's GDX, it's uranium. You get some beta there from ARK. You get some precious metals trade from gold miners, and you get a little bit of leverage. You get a little upside play through your uranium call spread. All right. We appreciate you, and we will see you hopefully Wednesday for a stock edition. Peace.